America stands at a perilous crossroads. Just days ago, a literal earthquake shook the Pentagon, not from a cyber attack or a ballistic missile, but from deep inside the core of the world's most powerful military machine. General Randy George, Chief of Staff of the U.S. Army, a man holding the lives of hundreds of thousands of troops in his hands, unexpectedly stepped down from his top post. A lightning-fast shakeup, coming right on the heels of hardline, direct orders from the new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. In peacetime, power purges like this are just headlines. But folks, this is not peacetime. Look to the Middle East. The powder keg is boiling over. America's forward operating bases are surrounded and targeted by Iran's vast network of proxy forces. The red line of our deterrent strategy is being stretched to the breaking point. Right at this boiling point, when the chain of command from Washington down to the battlefield commanders requires absolute stability, the top seat of the Army is left vacant. Pause. It's a deadly paradox. What is really going on behind the closed doors of the Pentagon? Is General George's departure simply the result of a personality clash, or is it the opening salvo of a total overhaul of the military structure? Will this personnel shockwave trigger a fierce pivot in U.S. strategy against Iran, a tactical retreat, or preparations for an uncompromising retaliatory strike? Welcome to today's geopolitical briefing. In the quiet corridors of power at the Pentagon, a silent war has broken out. Pause. To understand the true nature of this earthquake, we must decode the military DNA of its two central figures. On one side, General Randy George, pause, a battle-hardened veteran. He embodies traditional Army doctrine, prioritizing stability, a rigid chain of command, and overwhelming force on the battlefield. To George, the Army is a massive machine that must be operated with caution, guided by principles, forged in the fires of countless wars. On the other side of the trench, the new Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, a pure disruptor. Hegseth represents a new wave of military thinking, aggressive, lean, with zero tolerance for red tape. He doesn't view the current Pentagon as an untouchable legacy, but as a bloated bureaucracy, one that requires life-or-death surgery to survive the era of modern warfare. A fracture was inevitable. Pause. Leaked reports suggest the new secretary's fierce directives collided head-on with General George's strategic vision. This went far beyond standard disputes over budget cuts or force restructuring. This was a fiery clash of military ideologies. Washington's military elite are holding their breath. Pause. The haunting question, right now, is the sudden exit of an Army Chief of Staff just natural attrition over a clash of visions? Or is it actually a high-level purge? A calculated campaign to sweep out the old guard, clearing the path for an entirely new military strategy, a fateful gambit launched right on the edge of the Middle East powder keg? While the Cold Wars, inside the air-conditioned rooms of the Pentagon, threaten to tear it apart, pause. Thousands of miles away, a very real war of blood and ballistic fire is on the brink of detonation. Turn your eyes to the barren sands of the Middle East. Pause. Here, America's defense network is bracing for impact. From the Red Sea, Houthi rebels are relentlessly firing anti-ship ballistic missiles. In Iraq and Syria, the U.S. Army's forward operating bases are dead in the crosshairs of kamikaze drone swarms. Tehran is playing a ruthless geopolitical chess match. They aren't foolish enough to engage in a direct head-to-head war. Instead, they've activated their entire network of proxy forces, the so-called axis of resistance, to encircle their adversary. Iran's objective is crystal clear: constantly probe the lines and test the absolute limits of Washington's deterrence. And right now, there is blood in the water. With top-tier turmoil shaking the U.S. military to its core, the adversary isn't going to let this golden opportunity slip away. This is the fatal cost of a command shakeup in the middle of a crisis. At a time when tens of thousands of army troops, the very men and women holding the line in the blistering sand, desperately need a unified command and a steadfast leader to react instantly to incoming strikes. Their highest seat of power sits empty. It is a power vacuum that could be paid for in lives. When the chain of command short-circuits, the Middle East powder keg could easily burn the Pentagon's grand strategies to the ground. Military elites call it the command vacuum. The sudden disappearance of an Army Chief of Staff isn't just a matter of changing names in the headlines. It triggers an immediate domino effect, crashing down on the entire system. For the mid- and low-ranking officers, the men and women pulling the triggers and moving the troops, a fracture at the top means chaos. Rapid troop rotation plans, large-scale military drills, and most critically, emergency contingency plans in the Middle East, all risk falling into a pending approval limbo. In modern warfare, a single minute of tactical lag can cost an entire outpost. Yet, there are two sides to every coin. In the eyes of the reform faction led by Pete Hegseth, this upheaval is by no means a setback. On the contrary, it is a bloody but necessary surgery to enforce strict discipline. By clearing out dissenting voices, Hegseth is smashing through the thick wall of bureaucracy. The ultimate goal? To forge a direct high-speed chain of command, from the President through the Secretary of Defense, straight down to the battlefield commanders. No barriers, no compromises. The most brutal test of this gamble will fall on the shoulders of CENTCOM. The generals there must formulate strategy alongside an army leadership in transition, right on the precipice of a regional war. Is America's chain of command truly broken? Or is it being sharpened to deliver a thunderous blow? The answer will determine the fate of the entire Middle East. Total reform demands disruptive change. When a disruptor like Pete Hegseth takes the helm at the Pentagon, the status quo is dead. America is undoubtedly pivoting. The only question now is, long pause, how will the sword fall? Scenario 1, the iron fist. Washington could completely tear up the doctrine of passive deterrence, the strategy of merely sitting back and intercepting cheap drones with million-dollar missiles. Instead, a preemptive strike campaign is greenlit. The U.S. won't shy away from escalation. They will hit hard, launching devastating airstrikes designed to cripple Tehran's offensive capabilities before the missiles even leave the launch pads. But beware of Scenario 2, a tactical retreat to pave the way for the phantoms. True to the lean and mean philosophy, the new brass might draw down ground forces, removing the sitting ducks, exposed out in the sand. Instead, the burden of deterrence will be handed entirely to the Air Force, the Navy, and a network of stealth drones. It's lethal, over-the-horizon power projection, without spilling American blood. Whether it's carpet bombing or a strategic withdrawal, the message to Tehran is crystal clear. The rules of the game have changed. Iranian strategists are now staring down an unpredictable Pentagon leadership, ready to shatter all precedents. Their old playbook has just been reduced to ashes. The dust at the Pentagon will eventually settle, but the aftershocks will reverberate for years. General Randy George's departure is far from a routine resignation. It is the death knell of the old guard and the symbol of an unprecedented seismic shift in the structure and war-fighting doctrine of the most powerful military machine on Earth. Secretary Pete Hegseth is betting his entire legacy on a historic gamble. If this purge actually forges a razor-sharp chain of command that can react instantly and extinguish the fires consuming the Middle East, he will be vindicated by history. But if this upheaval breaks the defense network, tearing fatal blind spots into the battlefield, the cost won't be measured in budget dollars. It will be paid in the blood of American soldiers and in the global hegemony of the United States. The geopolitical chessboard has been reset, and Washington's next move will decide the fate of an entire region. What's your take on this Pentagon earthquake? Pause. Is the military tightening its ranks to deliver a decisive blow, or is it crippling itself, right as Iran circles its prey? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll break them down in the next video. If this briefing gave you a clearer view of the battlefield, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss our breaking intelligence and military deep dives. Thanks for standing watch with us. Until next time, we'll see you at the world's next flashpoint.